This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. My guest today is Phil Ingram. Phil is the Chief Marketing Officer. He's the CMO at Lepricon, a community-governed games platform working to accelerate the blockchain gaming revolution. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be here.
Pleased to have you here, Phil. Let's do what we always do at the beginning of the show, which is just get a bit of an introduction to yourself. Perhaps feel free to share a little bit of your background and what led you up to joining the team at Lepricon.
I have a long, sordid history. Before I joined Lepricon, which would have been around August 2020, I was actually in the travel industry. I used to be the VP of marketing for a luxury US tour operator with offices in New York and Bangkok. I worked from home in Hong Kong and commuted between here and Thailand. And then I left around November 2019. I wanted to start my own marketing agency focused on luxury travel. And then COVID happened and there wasn't a travel industry anymore. So later that year, Josh Galloway, who's the CEO of Lepricon and one of my oldest friends in Hong Kong, knew my marketing background, which stretches some 30 years. I'm not that young. And asked me if I would come on as an advisor and provide a different sort of marketing view from the very crypto approach and shilling-based approach that was prevalent sort of 18 months ago. And so I came on as an advisor and very quickly found myself in the center of the team and came on full time as a CMO. Before that, going back to 20 years, I was part of the .com boom based in New York. Which is very interesting to me because the difference between that craze 20 years ago, which was very marketing-led and not product-led, and the crypto environment, which is very product-led and had suffered initially from sort of poor marketing and customer priority, has been very interesting for me. But I've had a background that's covered multiple industries, from travel to hospitality to the .com boom, even ran a chunk of cable and wireless in Asia for a period. So an interesting mix that led me here.
An interesting mix indeed, Phil. And yeah, it's funny, the way you say that crypto does, I don't know, perhaps it does suffer a little bit from a marketing problem, certainly suffers from a brand and reputation problem, although that is changing. But, yeah, it's just one of the things that for whatever reason, people that are outside the industry often have poorly formed, preconceived notions of what really a Bitcoin is all about or what NFTs are all about. And sometimes it's quite hard to change their mind because, as I'm sure you're aware, Phil, to kind of when you jump into the deep end and start to engage with, blockchain gaming or DeFi or NFTs or whatever it is a bit of a steep learning curve. But I guess with that in mind, so we've got a long way to go, particularly with blockchain gaming, because as well as having there's a marketing problem, but the kind of, I suppose, the from a product point of view, the UX, the UI, still a bit clunky. But look, let's talk about Lepricon then. What is the, I suppose, the high level idea?
Well, actually, the high-level idea will answer most of the points you just raised.
Oh, I love it.
Just then. How terribly convenient. The Lepricon was born from a unique combination of DNA. Our CEO, Josh, is a 20-year veteran of the video games industry. He goes back to the 90s when he was a producer for gathering of developers on title, which became part of Rockstar, on titles like Max Payne. So he comes from very much to the AAA gaming world and then moved to Asia was part of the team that launched Ubisoft's Shadowbane to an Asia audience 20 years ago. Well, a very advanced MMORPG for its time. Then moved into mobile gaming and also gaming content delivery. He developed a pre-Steam content delivery platform. On the other hand, we have people who are purely blockchain. The other founder, Stephen Brown, has been involved in financing tokenized companies for some time through one of his other companies, Source Digital Assets. So you bring these things together and you have some very strong understanding of what blockchain can do, and a love for the video games industry, and an understanding that when these two, I'll call them industries, come together, and they haven't really come together yet, and we'll get into that, the change will be phenomenal. To give you a simple example, if you played World of Warcraft, and I will not admit to the many hours I've spent playing World of Warcraft in my youth, it's very much a publisher-owned economy. The simple thing about gaming is and blockchain is that we move to this concept of the player-owned economy. And so Leprichaun's always understood that gaming should and could and really should be the first killer on-ramp for a more mass adoption of blockchain in people's lives or activities. However, we don't think it is through a blockchain first approach. You don't use Evernote because it uses SQL license database. You just use it because it's a good note-taking app. In the same way, people won't play a game at mass level because it uses blockchain. They'll play it because it's just a damn good game. And so one of the issues that we've seen, and if you look through our original, the stuff we were publishing in sort of the late summer and fall of 2020, well before the sort of blockchain gaming craze took off, is we were saying very, very clearly that that it will require a lot of change in the way blockchain's adapted. If you look at DeFi is a use case of blockchain. All blockchain says is you own this and we can't take it away from you. And DeFi is developed as a sort of an application layer on top of that. What we're seeing right now is this blockchain gaming thing, which is really blockchain companies dressing up in the clothes of gaming to sell tokens and NFTs. But there's no real thought about the actual game that comes on the back of it. Half of them various versions of Pokemon Battles Lite. You sell, we're to 10,000 characters for our game. Well, what does the 10,000 first person do? So we've actually always said that gaming will be the killer on ramp, but you have to come back to the core of what blockchain is and develop an application layer on top of that suits that industry. Because whereas right now the blockchain industry has adopted gaming as its on ramp, what has not happened yet is the actual gaming industry, those people that make things that sell hundreds of millions of units, and make stuff that you play on your consoles and your PC, whilst they are looking at it and privately the CEOs are talking about it, there have been very few cases where gaming companies said, yeah, blockchain's the future for us. And in a couple of cases where those companies have said, we want to look at blockchain, Ubisoft and Square Enix being the two that immediately come to mind, there's been really massive pushback from the players in their communities who are going, well, NFTs are just a con job and crypto's just a Ponzi scheme. And that is the fault of the blockchain industry, which has come up with phrases like play to earn. There's a difference between saying, yep, you make money playing this game, and the publisher can't take away what you've earned through your hard work grinding in this game. There's two entirely different things. So the blockchain industry has sort of created this problem where the larger gaming community doesn't like it because they've taken this blockchain approach. So Lepricon, to come back to that, We have been built, we developed our own side chain, which basically took gas out of the equation because that is a friction. We're working and we're building technologies that will enable actual game developers to incorporate blockchain, to make that transition to the concept of the player-owned economy and all that that can take you to, but in a way that doesn't bring all the baggage of DeFi, because decentralized finance and gaming are two very, very, very different applications.
Yes, indeed, Phil. Well, there's a lot going on then. So if Lepricon is a blockchain-driven ecosystem of DeFi games, NFTs, and you have a side chain, gas-free, I believe you said, but Ethereum compatible.
I suppose more accurately, you would say zero GUI. It's an Ethereum chain, so the actual nodes use gas, but the gas itself has no value. So when you do a transaction, the preset GUI amount is zero, but there is gas going on because it's an Ethereum chain. So
understand, but because it's a side chain and the side chain is Leprichain, so yeah, the gas fees are effectively much lower. How does it work though in terms of where do the games come from? Who's building the games? So for example, you talked about how play to earn games, the famous one is Axie Infinity. I don't know if you've ever tried to play Axie. It's pretty clunky. Pretty, it's I think play to grind. Maybe you said that, but yeah, I understand what you mean there. But that's also because it's kind of really the first generation blockchain game to find product market fit, if you like, or kind of go global. And so all those early adopters, even though they did have to play to grind and it was hard work, a lot of them did very well. So I guess what I'm saying is, if the standard to beat really is AAA games, and that really does mean Call of Duty and Fortnite and those kind of traditional console gaming experiences, in my mind, blockchain gaming has got some distance to go before we get there. So I guess two questions, how do we get there, and how does it work in terms of those AAA standard games working within the Lepricon ecosystem?
I think we get there. It's going to take a little while, although there are already examples. We announced, funnily enough, yesterday, perfect timing, we announced a tie-up with a game studio called Hayabusa, which are building a AAA game in Unreal 5 called Tower's Gate, which is essentially a survival game where you get dropped in this city which lives a life of its own. You're not so much the protagonist, but someone who's in that place, and you can basically play the gun route where you go down all these preset or generated dungeons. Or you can become, a tycoon of industry. The entire city's will be built on a blockchain-based economy. You can, you'll even be able to validate the blockchain network and earn, and the validation rewards would be like in-game consumables and commodities. So we just announced this yesterday. This is a game with a past over $10 million budget. And we're going to be building the blockchain technology that goes into that custom in-game wallets in C++, which is the programming language for Unreal Engine, marketplaces, the actual token launch, etc. So there are actually a couple of people who are stepping forward, but it is going to take a little while. There's a number of things that have to be overcome. There's market resistance, as I mentioned before, which is the fault of the blockchain industry for focusing on the financial bit, not understanding that games sell because they're fun, not because you can make money. I don't think anyone really has a lot of fun playing Axie Infinity. Real gaming is losing 150 hours of your life in an immersive world and building up a character, like I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla or whatever, or even the Far Cry series, long involved storylines with side threads, etc. So, the best way I sort of the way I try to explain this is I fall back on my favorite example, which is World of Warcraft, which I think I already mentioned. Because if you want a direct comparison, World of Warcraft has all the 4 basic components that blockchain can replace. It has inventories, which in crypto parlance we would call wallets. It has in-game currency, which can be a token, as well as resources, etc., which can also be tokens. It has unique collectibles, which can be, well, it's very different. NFTs, yes, but obviously, you know, if 10,000 people play and all 10,000 people can find, you know, the sword of Damocles, then you can have an argument about NFT versus token. I think this is where things like the 1155 standard from Engine come in, because they saw that problem too. And then finally, you have the marketplace, and within World of Warcraft, the marketplace is actually in the game engine in the form of the auction houses, which you sort of basically press the W key on your keyboard to move forward into. Now, the interesting thing is that with these, there's a couple of things. One of the most fundamental changes that say you took World of Warcraft and you stripped out the economic bit, all the bits I just mentioned, and replaced it with blockchain technology. Okay, right now it would be very slow. You know, there's something very annoying about the idea of clicking on a monster you just took 20 minutes to kill, and MetaMask pops up and says that'll be $15, please, when you try and loot its corpse. You know, this is an example of the DeFi problem. And it can be slow. Blockchain can be slow, but with Rust-based chains, Solana, Polkadot, etc., you know, we'll see changes there. But the primary difference is that World of Warcraft is a publisher-owned economy. You don't actually own a damn thing. You could have spent half your life in that game, and there are some people who have, but they don't actually own a thing, while still continuing to pay $14 a month to play the game. And there have been many famous cases of people losing all their stuff because they transgressed some obscure line about gamer behavior, and there's not much you can do about it. The fundamental difference by shifting to blockchain is not about playing to earn or earn money by killing zombies in a graveyard or anything. It's the simple fact that if you fought for that gear, it is yours and we can't take it away from you. That's really the fundamental thing that we should be focusing on. Beyond that, obviously, when you have real player-owned stuff, you then start moving towards economies. So you can imagine in a role-playing game, which it still remains the best example, player guilds take a whole new meaning. You know, people can specialize in things and, you know, and sell those services within the guild, etc. So, but to get there, we have to do a lot of things. Sovereignty and decentralization is the perfect solution for controlling your financial life. It is meaningless in a game world where you have to keep saying yes to a wallet pop-up every time you do something. You know, gaming can work on the blockchain, but it's going to have to exist in a much more custodial situation, because otherwise it's just unusable. UX and sovereignty don't go together. Speed, except, you know, all these things. And then also having to overcome the negative impact that the blockchain crowd have had on the gaming industry, whether it be the players fighting back against Ubisoft or Square Enix, or the companies like Steam kicking 25,000 odd games off their platform. For whatever reason they stated, I think their primary thing was, we'd rather not have the SEC calling us going, why are you a platform for companies selling unlicensed securities? So, you know, there's a big mess to clean up, which has been created by the blockchain industry. And yet, if we can get through that, if we can develop a technology stack on the basic concept of blockchain, i.e. you own it and we can't take it, then we can start to actually add utility to games without them, with them still being games, with better player, with players having more skin in the game, rather than, yeah, buy a token and we'll do a game in 2 years.
Yes. Yes, indeed, Phil. I think I'm starting to get it. So really, you guys have built, or you're building an ecosystem. You've got the Leprichain side chain, and you're essentially building software solutions like SDKs, which you hope mainstream or any game studio really will use these to incorporate different forms of blockchain mechanics into their existing games. And I think on your website you talk about eventually, you could imagine building solutions which really are almost a drag and drop style blockchain solution for mainstream game houses, right? That's the goal. Yeah.
So let me just round that off so your listeners have a clear picture. We have these three. We have three tracks: technology, entertainment, and DeFi. The really what you described as the first two. We're building the components, which is essentially the backbone, the blockchain, wallet solutions, in game and out of game, marketplace solutions. We've just about to launch our batch composed NFT minter, where you can called the pack generator, where you can basically mint tens of thousands of NFTs in one go. It takes a while, like 22 days, that contain other digital assets, a bit like the downloadable game packs. If you play Assassin's Creed, you download the Valhalla horse pack. So we very much using game parlance, but we're building all these bits, and we have three tracks. We have the web stack track for online games. We have the Unity track in C#, which is for games built in the Unity 3D engine. And then we're about to engage, and it's being sped up because of this partnership with Hayabusa, the C++ track, or the Unreal Engine track. So we'll have all these components for those three different routes to delivering content to the end user. What we're actually doing is we ourselves make these little games. We have a couple at the moment, Lucky Wheel, which is simply a Wheel of Fortune. We have another thing called Gachapon, which is built in Unity, which demonstrated our ability to actually access blockchain transactions from within the Unity engine. So all these little games we build bring in the extra, allow us to research and discover how to solve specific challenges, and the end result is another portion of where we plan to get to sort of by the summer, early fall, which is having a complete software development kit for certainly WebStack and Unity that gives you blockchain access, token minting capabilities, NFT minting capabilities, wallet, marketplace, etc., all packaged up and in the way a game company would want to do it, when it's about adding utility to the game rather than trying to pre-sell a token. So that's essentially what we're doing. So in the end, we want to be one of the companies that enables mainstream game developers to incorporate blockchain in a way that makes their games better, rather than just become part of this quote blockchain gaming revolution unquote. The second thing I would just add is, because we come from the gaming industry, we already know all the people in the major games industries. We don't have to go around, can someone introduce me to the guy who runs Rockstar or whatever, because some of our team come from that world. So we already have the contacts. There's already a lot happening behind the scenes. So we feel very strongly that we're one of the companies that has an advantage in this area.
Very nice, Phil. And as we finish off this part of the podcast, then I suppose the other piece of the puzzle, you've talked about it a little bit, but is the DeFi part with the token. So you guys have a token as well. So it'd be good just to understand what you guys consider as your, I suppose, DeFi offering, and how the token plays into that.
Very good question. Yes, we're a tokenized company. Our token is L3P. We've had an interesting run. Obviously, the last bear market was very, very painful. And one of the challenges for a tokenized company in this space is that, the first tokens that came out and did really well is like DeFi platforms. Now you can basically drag and drop a DeFi platform these days. So that's instant, obvious utility, and some have done well, some haven't. One of the challenges we've faced is what we're trying to do takes years, not weeks. And it's been very, very difficult to, so we've suffered somewhat in the value of the token, but we've continued to build. We're now actually starting to announce some of the things that we worked on. So that's working. From a DeFi point of view, we are a token, and so we have to provide reasons for people holding the token. One of the things, obviously, with Leprichain, with revenue going through the chain, we're able to conduct buybacks, which restricts supply. We use the buyback and make model. We don't burn tokens. We take them off market and then can replenish staking rewards down the line when necessary. We are looking at various ways in which we can gamify things such as staking and yield farming. We're looking at building the staking options into some of our games. And we're also looking at building a straight up, right now we're working on a straight up DeFi portal. It'll be lepricon.fi, where you can, for example, stake L3P and earn other tokens, etc. There's a lot of we're looking at a lending platform based on borrowing against NFTs. Because obviously NFTs are very much a core part of what we're doing. So there's a lot of options there. So this will happen in the next sort of 3 to 4 months when Lepricon.fi launches. But at the end of the day, if people have a token, it does one of two things. It either goes up in value and they go, thank you very much, or it earns for them while it's at whatever value it is. I mean, there's not much else you can do with the token. The other thing that it will come in is that in the medium term, Leprichain itself, a lot of the game development has to be executive led, but you couldn't possibly put that in sort of DAO type situation. But the Leprichain itself, we do eventually want to section off so that people who hold L3P are able to make decisions about how the chain works for the companies that use it as a backbone for their games. And we have a number of people working with at the moment, third parties who are looking at how to incorporate Leprichain into their games because they like the gas-free thing. Gas is a hindrance to UX. So there's a lot of ways a lot of ways in which we're looking to try and add utility and get more out of L3P, so that the people who stay with us in the long run, as the actual core business comes to fruition, will get the most benefit.
Understand. Makes a lot of sense, Phil. Well, let's go to a very quick break, and then when we come back, we'll finish off. We'll have some fun. We'll finish off with the very famous Crypto Conversation Hot Take Round.
For crypto indices and benchmarking, Brave New Coin's powerful indexing engine can calculate high-frequency intraday and end-of-day indices for a wide range of index products. Brave New Coin's custom indices team delivers experienced consultancy, premium data, and trusted calculation. Contact BNC today to find out more.
All right, we're back, and I'm with Phil Ingram. Phil is the CMO at Lepricon, a community-governed games platform working to accelerate the blockchain gaming revolution, or the gaming revolution, incorporating blockchain mechanics. Phil, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
You've now got me terrified, but go for it.
Just want quick, snappy answers, hot take style. There's no right or wrong way to do this. The question one for you, Phil, is where do you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-coin opportunist spectrum?
Assuming I understand that question, I think I'm a multi-coin.
Understand. All right. Hey, makes sense.
Actually, I own Bitcoin.
Oh, good.
But but it's not exactly. It's probably like about 2% of my portfolio. I do own Bitcoin, but you know.
Okay, well, at least you've got some. What would you say is your firmest conviction crypto opinion then, Phil?
That you have to put the customer first. I belong to the Steve Jobs school of thought, is that you don't make products because you got good technology. You find good customer problems and bend the technology to solve those problems.
Very nice, very nice. Interestingly put, I like it a lot. Well, an old sparring partner of Steve Jobs was, of course, Steve Jobs was Bill Gates, who famously said, "We tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So, look, it's just speculation. But blockchain gaming, what does it look like in 10 years' time, Phil?
No mention of the word blockchain. My honest opinion is blockchain will have made it when you don't have to talk about blockchain.
Yeah, that's very well said. Very well said. I like it. Okay, well, the flip side of that, of course, is William Gibson, famous sci-fi author. He said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being right here, right now, Phil? But most people just aren't really aware of it.
Oh, sugar. You know, all this metaverse stuff, you know, it's like, oh my God, the metaverse, you know, I can go and meet my friends online. Mate, we've been doing MMOs for 20 years. This is not new.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. And by MMO, which is, I don't know if it's just, as you say, they've been around 20 years, just a massively multiplayer online game. And they have been around for years.
Now, fine, so you got the blockchain thing, but what is it, you know, I think the metaverse is really, I mean, we're very much involved in metaverse stuff, and there are other parts of the company we haven't talked about, such as Leprichain's incubation track, where we're actually helping other companies get off the ground and provide the expertise and mentoring, what a horrible word, for them. But, and there's some really strong metaverse related stuff in there. And yes, the big difference is the control of your identity. I think, you know, when Facebook said, yeah, we're going to get into the metaverse, the idea of connecting my Facebook profile, and I still have one, I'm seriously thinking about getting rid of it, with my Ethereum wallet address and connecting those two data streams together, possibly the most terrifying thought ever. But but nevertheless, this idea that you can go into metaverse and control your identity rather than using a Web3 login rather than a Web2 login, that is quite profound. It's quite profound for online access in general. But the actual fundamental idea of being able to walk around a virtual world and chat with your friends, that ain't new.
That is quite correct. Time to finish this off, though, Phil. The final question is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, TV show, or universe? And you can have a second to think, don't worry.
Well, no, because I am a massive sci-fi and fantasy buff. So now you've got me mentally going through my entire bookshelf. But if I had to fall back for book, I would be stuck between, I would probably go back to either Dune, or for more comedy, the Terry Pratchett books.
Yeah.
Film, my favorite sci-fi film of all time is The Wrath of Khan. Universe, sci-fi universe might be that's got this, there's just too many. Let me tell you, it's not Game of Thrones. So sci-fi universe might actually be like the Belgariad. What's the author's name? Oh no, actually no, I'd probably say Raymond D. Feist and The World of Pug, possibly for books, because there's about 25 of those books and I've read them all.
I'm not familiar with that one, but that sounds interesting.
Raymond E. Feist. The first book is Magician, and then it's fantastic. And if you like very well written fantasy from the days before it was mass produced, then there's a recommendation for you.
All right, so Magician, one of the Feist novels by Raymond E. Feist. Indeed, published in 1982, I can see. Excellent. Well, hey, look, Phil, this has been a lot of fun, really. I've enjoyed talking to you. Nothing else to say, really, except to hand the metaphorical microphone back to your good self. Take us out. Please tell the people where they can go to find you, if you're on Twitter or something like that, and tell the people where they should go to learn more about what you guys are building with Lepricon.
Okay. For Twitter, I am at DeFi Marketer, spelt exactly as it sounds. Our company is at Lepricon.io. Lepricon.io is the website. Also on Telegram at DeFi Marketer, and on Discord at DeFi. Oh, I have them all. How did I do that? Lepricon.io is the website, or find us on Twitter, or come join the community. Again, search for Lepricon Global on Telegram if you want to join the community. You'd be most welcome.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Phil. All the best, and bye for now.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, there you go. That was Phil Ingram from Lepricon. Lepricon. It's quite a good name, that. Lepricon. Kind of sounds like leprechaun, but it's Lepricon. And the I'm just looking at the website. The website is, well, it's spelled Lepricon, and the website is lepricon.io. Reimagining entertainment through technology. That is really what we're all here for, especially in the world of NFTs, blockchain gaming, and so on. Reimagining entertainment through technology. Could not have put it better myself. Thanks for coming on, Phil. Thanks for listening, everybody. This was the Crypto Conversation for a brave new coin. Of course it was. Thanks for listening. See you real soon. Bye for now. See ya.